Welcome once again to another episode of the Random Access Podcast, brought to you by rapodcast.net. This is episode 823, recorded live on February 1st, 2025. And here are your hosts, the man who thinks we should listen to a groundhog for weather prediction, Dave Pillay.
Sort of.
And the man who doesn't think he's wrong, Andy Lowe. Hi. Yes, please. So, for those of you who are not me or Dave, we were having a discussion about Groundhog's Day because it is February 1st.
One quick question, because I can never remember. Is it Groundhog's Day or Groundhog Day?
Groundhog Day. Yes, Groundhog Day forecast. Groundhog Day forecasts. Everybody says
it's not possessive. It's not the Groundhog's Day.
No.
And it's singular. It is not a day of many groundhogs. It is a single groundhog.
Yes.
Which is just a fancy name for dirt pig.
Sure. If you want to go that way.
Is that inaccurate? A groundhog? What is a groundhog but a dirt pig?
No, you're not wrong using a thesaurus. Converting.
So apparently, Punxsutawney Phil, or his various incarnations, have been incorrect like 60-some% of the time.
Okay, so I was looking this up, and of course, not of course, but NOAA has been keeping track of Phil's forecast since 1887. That was the first year that we had a groundhog predict the weather. And according to NOAA, since 2005, so the last 20 years, he has only been accurate 35% of the time.
Which means so he's been wrong 65% of the time. Now, I would also point out that, has it been the same groundhog for 20 years?
That part, I don't. It's definitely not been the same groundhog since 1887.
Right. I mean, it's this immortal groundhog. So I actually would want to know the individual groundhogs' records.
All right. I'm going to see what there's got to be. Okay.
Regardless, while Andy is looking that up, I shall explain this. If there's only two choices, right? Which in this case, there are only two choices. So there's kind of a 2x2, right? There's, he saw a shadow and winter continued. He saw a shadow and winter didn't continue. He didn't see the shadow, winter continued. He didn't see the shadow and winter did not continue. But effectively, whether he sees the shadow or not, figure out it's basically random. So the correlation of his answer to the other answer, you would expect to be 50-50 over the long run, right? Like half the time he's going to be accurate because there's only two choices. But he's not. He's accurate 35% of the time, which means really, like, he's just wrong 35% of the time. But if he's wrong 35% of the time, that means that the opposite of him is right 65% of the time. So take whatever answer he gives and assume the opposite, and you will be right more often than not.
Oh, just curious, the lifespan of a groundhog in the wild is roughly 6 years.
So this is probably Punxsutawney Phil the 35th.
Now, according to the Groundhog Club, Phil is immortal because he drinks a secret elixir of life at the annual Groundhog Picnic.
If there is a secret elixir of life, why is the groundhog get it? And not a person?
Maybe it's just, maybe it only works on groundhogs.
Maybe.
So
are pictures of Phil allowed? Because we can probably check over time whether Phil looks the same.
So the Groundhog Club, who are the official keepers of Punxsutawney Phil, do not tell anybody when there is a change of guard.
Right.
So I cannot. Yeah, that will destroy the lore and the mystique of
the legend of the cryptid that is Punxsutawney Phil. The modern myth.
Which, according to the Punxsutawney website, before the movie came out,
yeah,
they normally had, maybe 1,000, maybe 2,000 people.
And now?
about 20,000 people show up.
Thanks, Bill Murray.
Could you imagine just, somebody just has does a movie and all of a sudden your crowd size goes up by a factor of 10.
I mean, yes, I can imagine that quite well. Given fandoms, I have no problem imagining that. How many people do you think went to Star Trek conventions before they started making movies?
Good point. All right, so...
Were there Star Trek conventions before they were making? I don't know.
Do you know that... The Inner Circle claims, though, on this website here, they claim that whenever the prediction is wrong, it is not Phil's fault. Because supposedly Phil talks to the head of the Inner Circle.
Right.
And the Inner Circle is supposed to be able to understand the groundhogese.
This is just groundhog apologists.
They said that the person in charge had misinterpreted the message. So they're going along the lines that you're going along. It's not the groundhog's fault. It's the people interpreting what the groundhog does and says.
They're just getting it backwards.
They're getting it backwards, yes.
They're missing the negation inflection in Phil's speech.
Just can't believe
What I was about to say, by the way, was that there's a mobile Star Trek game, Star Trek like Fleet Command or something.
Yes, I've seen the ads.
Have you seen the ads for the Galaxy Quest Starship?
No.
They added Galaxy Quest to Star Trek Fleet Command. You can play Jason Nesmith.
Oh, that's funny.
Whose two abilities, because all the captains apparently have two abilities. His two abilities are never give up
and
never surrender. Like, what a great little bit.
Oh. So this is completely aside.
Yeah.
But so I follow some of the parenting subreddits and that sort of stuff.
Sure.
And on one of them, he was talking about his kid, going off to use the bathroom on his own. And he had to, was waiting for his kid in a spot, but then he had to, he got moved by the usher for some reason to another, spot where he could still see the door, but, he wasn't where he told the kid he was going to be. So the kid gets out of the bathroom and the kid looks around for the dad. Kid doesn't see him right away. And the dad's going to try and figure out like, okay, what is this? What's the kid going to do? It's like, this is an educational moment for the dad going, okay.
How independent is my child?
Yes. And the kid looks around, doesn't see the dad. And then no joke, just yells at the top of his lungs, never give up. And then just waits for the response, doesn't hear it. And so he just starts walking and he just keeps on shouting, never give up. And then the dad finally is like, okay. The kid does it one more time. The dad, responds with never surrender.
That's fucking adorable. That's their version of Marco Polo.
Yes. And I'm like, damn, that's a good one right there.
Never give up.
Never give up.
See,
never
the problem is, I'd shout back, never surrender, even though it's not my kid.
Kid walks up, you're not my dad.
Well, you're correct. Are you lost? Do you need help finding your dad? Never give up. Never surrender.
Oh.
It's a far, far cry from live long and prosper.
Still a good movie, though. It's one
Galaxy Quest?
Yeah.
It's a fantastic movie. It's the best Star Trek movie out there. It's an amazing movie. I encourage anyone who's interested in Star Trek to watch Galaxy Quest, just as I encourage anyone who watches Star Trek to go watch The Orville.
Still haven't watched that. We still haven't finished Picard either.
Andy.
Yeah.
Andy.
Yeah.
The Orville is so good.
Okay.
It's the Star Trekiest Star Trek that trekked.
All right, I will have to put it on the list. I'll just keep adding more to the list.
Yep. I've started to watch Resident Alien.
What do you think?
Go watch the Orville.
Go watch the Orville? Okay.
Yeah. What do I think about Resident Alien? It's cute. We haven't gotten very far. We're only a couple episodes in. And I think the whole cast is still trying to find their selves.
Mm.
You know, it takes a while for a new show to get started.
Yep.
Including the Orville, for what it's worth. It does take a little bit for it to get started. But that, like, once you realize that Seth MacFarlane wanted to make a Star Trek show for CBS and was told no, and then went to Fox and said, I want to do a space comedy with poop jokes and farts on a starship. And they're like, yeah, fuck it, go for it. And he's like, cool, I get to make Star Trek. Hang on, let's see. List of Star Trek actors in Orville. Tim Russert, Robert Picardo, John Billingsley.
Well, he probably had contact through everybody through Family Guy and American Dad.
Yep.
I mean, like I've seen the guest star voices.
Yep. So John Billingsley, who was Phlox from Enterprise, Marina Sirtis has been on it. Robert Picardo's been on it. Tim Russ, Penny Johnson, Gerald, who played Cassidy Yates. Technically, Seth MacFarlane himself had a character in Enterprise.
That was a while ago now, wasn't it?
Yup.
God, I remember when that first came out. Now I'm feeling old.
Go watch the Orville, please. Please.
Well, I just finished Agatha All Along.
How was it? I haven't watched any Disney Plus stuff in like 2 years. I think She-Hulk was the last thing I watched.
Agatha All Along was interesting. You know, there were some twists in there.
Okay.
Because of course.
Yeah.
It was
MCU.
Yeah.
Of course there are twists.
It was interesting. Was I like super excited by it? But
Would
no,
that time have been better spent watching the Orville?
Probably.
Yeah.
Well, I started watching Agatha All Along because I was watching the final season of What If, and of course, the second episode of What If was what if Agatha Harkness went to Hollywood? And I'm like, well, shoot, I know nothing of this character outside of, being a villain in WandaVision.
Yeah.
And I know that they did the Agatha All Along series, so I watched all through that to try and figure out, okay, is What If going to reference Agatha All Along? Which the answer was no.
Of course not.
Yeah, the Agatha All Along episode referenced more of the Eternals than it did. Oh, but I'm trying to catch up on the Marvel stuff because Captain America comes out in a couple weeks.
Yeah, but did you watch Captain America and Winter Soldier?
Yeah.
Then you're probably fine.
Maybe. I still need to watch.
But you also have to watch a bunch of the Hulk stuff.
Yeah, Hulk. Well, I've seen all the Hulk stuff. What am I missing from the MCU?
I've lost track.
What am I missing from the MCU? Okay. Are you going to have this in order, Wikipedia, please? No, you're not.
No, of course not.
Oh, wait, here, no. Okay, the Multiverse Saga. Seen that. Yeah. Haven't seen the Marvels. Haven't seen Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah, I need to see that.
Oh, I have to go to each individual phase. And of course, they don't have it. I just want one big list, please. No, I've seen all the TV shows in 4. All right, phase 5. I haven't seen the Marvels, and I haven't seen Deadpool and Wolverine. Those are the 2 movies I'm missing. And let's see, television series seen. Oh, I haven't seen Echo either. That's only 5 episodes, though. I could knock that out pretty dang quick.
You're like, I could do that in a day.
Probably not in a day, unless I was home alone for a whole day. But, I mean, the last time that would...
All right, you got kids, so...
Yep, nope. Isaac has no school next Friday, so we're going to go see the Dog Man movie.
The what?
Dog Man.
The Dog Man.
Yeah, dog. I think it's Dog Space Man. It's based off of a bunch of books. We've got some of them.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, there's 14 books in the series.
The Dogman series.
Yes, it's I think it's done by the same guy who did Captain Underpants.
Okay.
Have you heard of Captain Underpants?
I have heard of Captain Underpants.
Okay.
I'm reminded of a fictional character in the fictional realm of Invincible. There's a comic book superhero called Seance Dog. Who is a parody of like Doctor Strange, except he's a dog.
Yes, no, Isaac supposedly loves these graphic novels. And the movie came out on the 31st, and he's got the day off. So I'm like, well...
Sounds like a great little trip.
Yep. So same thing when we just saw Sonic 3. So, it's like, yeah, we'll take the day. Go to the movie theaters.
Yep.
I'll get to find out what the heck Dogman is.
Careful what you wish for.
I don't know. But speaking of cartoons, I can segue this sort of into a topic.
Sure. Go for it.
Because there were lots of cartoon characters in Warner Brothers Multiversus.
There are a lot of cartoon characters in Multiverses, yes.
But that won't matter anymore because for the second time, Multiversus is shutting down. This time, though, they said it's permanent.
Well, that's sad.
Hasn't lasted a full year. Well, I think it hasn't lasted a full year this time.
This was their Smash Brothers, right?
Yes. This was the Warner Brothers Smash Brothers.
I mean, I guess I'm not terribly surprised.
Some of the people who bought the game, though, are kind of pissed because some of the founder editions came with 30 player tokens, and they haven't had a chance to use all 30 player tokens yet.
Well, when you buy into a live service game,
yep,
you have to understand that the service might not be there.
Yep.
So... that sucks, but stop supporting the industry doing this sort of shit.
Which is why I haven't spent money on Hearthstone or...
Ever?
Yeah.
Wow.
I have actually, the entire time I've done Hearthstone... I scratched that. The very beginning, there was a buy X amount of gold, and you got a pirate card. I forgot what pirate card it was, or it was some legendary that it was, hey, pay like $1 and you get this legendary card. I'm like, well, shoot, I might as well do that just for this was I'm not even sure if this was before release or not. God, I've been playing Hearthstone since before it released.
Yep.
Whoa. And of course now I'm sitting here playing with Protoss characters.
Yep. You're like, when did we lose the way?
I don't know. This is just such a weird sitting here, suddenly the guy plays siege tanks and Raynor against me, and I'm just like, what just happened? Why am I facing off against siege tanks right now? But yeah, okay, so there was the one time I paid money in Hearthstone, and I haven't paid anything yet in Pocket. I'm currently on the premium pass 2 weeks just because I want to get Isaac and I some more cards from this new decks or new expansions. But that's just doing the free 2 weeks, and once that's done, I'm going to cancel that.
Yeah.
Yes, no, it's been my thing to not pay for these sort of things. Even if I was going to pay, I would just use my Google Funny money, which, yes, is technically paying them, but it's not like I really, spending anything. But yeah, Multiversus.
I mean, someone's spending the money.
Yes, someone is spending the money. Yes, that is true. But yes, Multiversus is... They said, though, they did say that if you have purchased the game, for the time being, the plan is players will be able to play the game offline for the foreseeable future. So
who wants to play that game offline? Like, the whole point is to be competitive and play against other people, right?
Well, there's still a local multiplayer. What, you don't want to have a couch multiplayer game of Multiversus?
I don't know. Yes, but also, do I still get to unlock more characters? Or do I need to have a connection to do that?
Well, I think the last 2 characters coming out are coming out now.
Okay.
And you don't have to pay for those characters. But yeah, no, my question, do you get access to all the characters even if you haven't bought them with the tokens? That would be a good question to ask. Because if I'm sitting there looking at this game going, oh, look at all those characters I could have bought.
Right.
But did not want to pay for.
Well, I'm sorry to see them go.
It was a good idea. I mean, you have the back.
It was a great idea that Nintendo had 30 years ago.
They have the catalog.
Let's be clear. This is not an original idea.
No, it is not an original idea. That is true.
So, yeah. Just... what else do we want to talk about?
Well, we could talk about because Superman is in Multiversus, and there is another Superman story in our topic list.
Is this the James Gunn Superman?
Yes.
Okay. What is going on?
Well, the movie is supposed to come out on July 11th, but the estate of Superman creator Joseph Schuster is suing Warner Brothers and DC Comics, claiming that it lacks the rights to release the upcoming movie.
Really?
In Canada, the United Kingdom, Ireland, and Australia.
A rights battle for Superman.
Yes.
Why?
Well, so the original creators gave DC the rights to Superman in 1938 for $130 total.
Right.
And that's the way the copyright laws in the US, but in British territories, Canada, UK, Ireland, and Australia, there are provisions in their copyright laws saying that such, legal transfers last for 25 years after an author's death, which Schuster died in 1992. So the foreign copyrights automatically reverted to his estate in 2017 and 2021 in Canada, it says. So they're saying that they should have rights, and that the Warner Brothers and DC Comics is infringing on their rights in Canada, the UK, Ireland, and Australia. So they are trying to sue to halt the release of the movie until they can get all their stuff worked out, because they're supposed to,
So they're claiming to have the rights for Superman, and that the movie is an infringement of said rights.
Yes. They're not supposed to, they're exploiting Superman across the jurisdictions without the estate's authorization, including motion pictures, television series, and merchandise, which require...
I am going to laugh so hard when this results in Superman entering the public domain. So hard.
So they're looking for injuries, and they're also asking for a cease and desist order until this gets worked out. So yeah, that would be...
Do you think they're not going to honor that, right?
I don't know.
There's no way the court's going to be like, oh yeah, they can't release this multi-million-dollar movie because you may have... Come on, really? Do we honestly think they're going to do that?
I don't know.
I have a really hard time believing that they'll do that.
It's going to be interesting though if they have to tiptoe around.
Yep.
So yeah, no, this has nothing to do with the U.S. rights. That stuff has already been, decided. This is all foreign rights, which is always a big mess.
It's the English territories, right?
Yes.
You said it was Canada, the UK,
Ireland, and Australia.
Australia. That's just so dumb.
I mean, you talk about foreign rights, and you could bring up Tetris, because, oh my gosh, that one.
I just rewatched the Tetris movie last night.
Oh, really?
Last night, 2 nights ago, Thursday night. It's a really fun movie, up until the last 30 minutes where you're like, I don't think that's happened. I don't think a car chase with the KGB actually happened.
Probably not.
Pretty sure car chase with the KGB didn't happen. Although I will tell you something that the movie totally and fully glossed over. Did you watch the movie?
No.
Okay. One of the big players in this was Mirrorsoft.
Okay.
Right? Mirrorsoft is it's an English company run by a guy named Maxwell, who they had acquired the rights through Robert Stein, and they were the ones who were like, yeah, we have the rights globally for Tetris. And then Russia was like, we're not sure. And Hank Johnson was like, I don't think so either. I think I've got the rights. And They big to-dos, right? But this guy, Robert Maxwell, owner of MirrorSoft. He's actually the owner of like Mirror something or other corporation. It's a newspaper and media empire. And his son, Kevin Maxwell. Well, in the movie, it's just those two. It's I believe Robert Maxwell and Kevin Maxwell. But he had two other children, another son named Ian and a daughter named Ghislaine Maxwell.
Oh.
Do you know who Ghislaine Maxwell is, Andy?
That name, why does that name sound familiar?
I'll give you another name, and it will sound very familiar.
Okay.
Ghislaine Maxwell and...
I'm picturing Sierra.
Sierra?
Is it not Sierra?
Nope, that's Rosa something.
Oh, okay.
Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh. That's why that name sounds familiar.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
The villain of the Tetris movie is the father of Ghislaine Maxwell.
Oh, no.
Totally not covered in the movie. Not at all mentioned anywhere, not even to the side that he has a daughter named Ghislaine. What a fucked up family.
Oh, boy. Yeah, I didn't see that one going, but I was like, why does that name sound familiar?
Sierra was, what is her name? Sierra Games, what's her name?
I'm looking it up.
Founding by Roberta Williams.
Oh,
I knew it
okay.
had an R. Ken and Roberta Williams. Although, man, you want to talk about like another set of rights and like bad business decisions.
Oh,
poor Sierra.
Yep.
But yeah, we watched the Tetris movie. It's fun up until the car chase in Moscow during a military parade with the KGB. Pretty sure that didn't happen.
Probably not. Well, what do you want to talk about on the list?
Nothing. There's a lot of things on this list that I really don't want to talk about. Let's talk about DeepSeek.
Okay.
So DeepSeek got released a week and a half ago. Really big news. Oh my God.
Which is really funny because I do have to say you told me first about this, and then
yep.
So
Did you hear about this AI that they made super cheap?
Yeah, you brought it up to me on the podcast on Saturday. And then I am doing that presentation in a couple weeks about AI. So I'm like, okay, I'll probably have to stick something about this at the end. And then no joke, my news feed on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday was
nothing but DeepSeek.
Nothing but DeepSeek. And I'm just like, oh my gosh.
I really enjoyed. Did you watch the stock market on Monday?
Oh, watching Nvidia's stock plummet by what, 600 billion?
I think it was between 10%, like it was 10 to 15%. It was huge.
Yeah, I think they lost 600 billion market cap.
Just disappears. The money is just no longer there.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest single day loss for a company ever.
Yeah, 600 billion.
Jeez, that's a lot of money.
600 billion.
Granted, it's money that doesn't exist because it's just the value of the company.
Mm-hmm.
That's not real money. It's pretend money. But that's a lot of pretend money.
One of the bloggers who says, his was Jeffrey Emanuel, January 4th, posted his little 12,000 word post on DeepSeek and what the problem is there. And he said he's basically spent the rest of the week booked solid as hedge funds paid him $1,000 an hour to speak on the phone and give his talk about NVIDIA and AI.
Jesus.
So yeah, DeepSeek. Yep.
So DeepSeek, they came out of nowhere as the side project for this other company. OpenAI has accused them of effectively theft. I mean, they accused them of breaking the terms of service of ChatGPT because it looks like that DeepSeek model was trained on data distilled from GPT.
Yes, from what from the multiple YouTube videos that I watched on this I was listening to the YouTube videos while I was driving this week, because I drove a lot this week. No surprise. I already need to get an oil change for the work truck. It's just so many miles. I'm doing about 3,000 to 4,000 miles a month driving just for work. So yeah, lots of audiobooks and things like listening to YouTube videos. A lot of them are talking about how DeepSeek was basically just trained to mimic the responses of the other larger LLMs, is what I gathered from most of the videos, where DeepSeek basically just learned how to be a parrot. It's like somebody types this in, ChatGPT's response is this. I need to learn to have a response similar to that.
Right.
So it's not smart. It just knows how to sound smart, if that makes sense.
Well, but how is that different than GPT?
No, you're right.
How is that how does an AI know things?
Which I've learned a lot of people don't know. There was a study done where a bunch of data scientists went to an AI and basically just typed in Michael Jordan plays what sport or something along those lines. And there's one clear answer of basketball. And then they spent, well, yes, there is baseball in there too, but most likely, does the AI know that Michael Jordan played basketball?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, then they spent the next 40 pages of their white paper trying to figure out, how does AI know that Michael Jordan plays basketball? Like, where is that information stored inside the AI? And they're like, we think it's here, but we don't know.
I mean, it's in the encoding.
Well, they're like, is it in the MLP? Is it stored here? Is it in how many neurons are triggered by this? And they were just trying to figure out where this data is, where is fact stored? And they're like, we don't really know. We can guess it's here, but we're not sure.
I mean, it's kind of stored like in the rules of the language, right? Like if you were to query in some way the rules of English distilled from GPT, you could find out the answer to anything, because the rules of language would say Michael Jordan is a blank can only be followed by the word basketball.
But man, let me tell you, trying to deal with higher level dimensions while driving on a road sometimes made me almost just want to just yank that wheel to the side.
Did you ever take a linear algebra class?
I took algebra in high school.
So no.
I took some math course freshman. Did I take that sophomore year? I don't know. I took whatever math course because I was originally wanted to go into technology education, and then I realized I hated kids.
Says the father of two.
Yes, I hated. I tried to do substitute teaching. That did not work. And the technology education just did not appeal to me. And then I got into radio, and then I just went off on that tangent. But I took a math class that I needed to do for technology education, and I don't remember what it was. It might have been some sort of algebra or something, but
I guarantee you it was not linear algebra. You would know if you had taken linear algebra.
Okay.
Linear algebra is all about higher dimensional things and matrices.
Yeah,
it's literally the math behind AI.
I hadn't taken any linear algebra. The last time I touched matrices was in high school.
Yeah.
I did not touch any of that in college.
Linear algebra if you think about the terminology, right? Linear as in a line, but it's lines in higher ordered dimensions. It's not a line in a two-dimensional plane. It's a line in a 13 billion dimension space. So yeah. My question of have you ever taken linear algebra? You're talking about trying to think in these higher dimensions. linear algebra is the class that trains you for that a little bit. But also like that's how I felt when I took linear algebra.
I do have to say though, there are some good YouTube videos out there that distill the idea down to simpler, topics, still trying to figure out how MLPs work and all that stuff. It's a whole thing, but I'm just on the outside looking in going, I don't want to deal with most of this.
Yeah. I somewhere might still have my linear algebra book if you want to read it.
No.
Very emphatic, fast, no hesitation. Just no. So I do want to talk about this one just a little bit more about the idea of OpenAI as accusing DeepSeek of effectively theft. Where did OpenAI get its data from?
Basically everybody, because
I believe they scraped the internet, including all the places that said, no, you can't train your stuff on our data.
Well, most of the stuff at the time didn't have that in place because nobody thought it was really a thing.
Well, but they had copyright in place.
Yeah.
And training on that data is a violation of that copyright.
Yeah, it was... I was listening to 1A where they were talking about, they had actually brought in an author whose book had been illegally used to train AIs because they had found these basically illegal book dumps for text files that they used. And it was a bit ridiculous going like, yeah, I didn't even know this until, somebody had gone in. I think they had gone into Llama or something and looked at some of the training data. And they're like, well, wait a second. Why is my book in here?
Because you had your book on the internet.
Yep.
Just imagine if they scraped Pirate Bay. And all the books that are there.
Oh, yeah. No. The ebook databases out there are just crazy. I've seen them. It's like, oh, do you want this book? We have this book. So
OpenAI is accusing DeepSeek of stealing stolen data.
Yeah, I think they just wanted, because they announced Stargate, and so OpenAI was sitting high, and then all of a sudden DeepSeek comes out and just sucks.
You actually don't need that much money for this.
Yeah, we did this in for what, 5.6 billion, or not billion, million, 5.6 million for training
instead
this.
Of 600 million.
I think
you could run some of the DeepSeek models on a Raspberry Pi.
Yep. If I remember correct, my favorite quote that I heard was somebody was like, well, why is OpenAI freaking out? And somebody said, imagine OpenAI is Ferrari. And then all of a sudden, somebody is able to build their own Ferrari out of used Chevy parts. Out of their garage.
And you can't really tell the difference.
Yes. Somebody was able to build an actual Ferrari out of used Chevy parts in their garage.
That's pretty funny.
I heard that quote. I'm like, yeah, no, that sounds about right.
That sounds pretty accurate.
Yeah, because China didn't have... There were bans on sending chips.
There are sanctions.
There's sanctions against China.
That we can't send.
So China's like, screw it. We don't need your chips. We'll just do the math. We'll do a whole lot of better math. So we don't need the brute force power.
Oops. That's all I can say. Oops.
Mm-hmm. Well, here, I've got another oops for you. So a Swiss state of Basel-Stadt printed 100,000 flyers and sent them out to their houses saying that they could now file their taxes online. Sent out flyers to 100,000 households, right?
Okay.
The problem was the URL on all of those flyers was missing the Swiss country code top-level domain from the web address. It just had the subdomain of the state in Switzerland of .bs. So it was supposed to say .bs.ch, but they forgot to put the ch in. So it was just whatever it is .bs, which is the
Bahamas.
The Bahamas, yes.
It's top level of the Bahamas.
Yes, which this website doesn't exist.
No.
So the Department of Finance for that state thought it would cost it the equivalent of around $100,000 to reprint and resend out, corrected flyers and everything. But then somebody realized that they could just buy that domain from the Bahamas for $1,000, and that's what they did instead.
They're like, well, we put the wrong address on the cards. We could either reprint the cards or just make it the right address.
Yeah, so they bought the address from the Bahamas, and they're just going to set up a redirect for it to go to the correct website. Oh my goodness! So each of those three characters.
I mean, that's the right solution.
Yes.
What do you do? Here. Can I give you another example? This one from work, actually.
Okay.
I think I've brought this up before. When they first built the first big underground parking, the second big underground parking garage on campus, but this one was fully underground. There was no surface lot part of it. They built the whole thing, and then the fire department came out to certify it and said, we can't certify this. This is a 2,000 stall parking garage. It's huge. It's underground. It was very expensive to build.
Mm-hmm.
Fire department said, we can't certify this. We said, why not? And they said, we can't get our fire truck in there. So what's the solution?
Oh, I know what Chicago did.
What did Chicago do?
Chicago had the same thing where I think it was the airport, had a parking structure that the Chicago Fire could not get their fire trucks into. So the Chicago Fire Department basically bought a military Hummer with an extended back and turned that into a fire truck.
I don't think we went quite that far, but we did just buy them a new fire truck.
That's what I was thinking. I was just thinking,
yeah,
I literally saw that.
Buy a fire truck that would fit than to retrofit the entrance to make it so that the fire trucks could get in.
Yeah, that's what Chicago did. They got a Hummer and turned it into a fire truck.
Yeah.
And that's what they did for. Let's see if I can find the Chicago Hummer fire truck. No, not number. Why do you 1994 Hummer H1 fire attack. Yep, from the Chicago O'Hare Airport. Let's see if I can copy this picture. No, just copy image. Don't copy address. Oh my gosh, this laptop is going to make me shoot somebody. Not literally.
Please don't.
No, it's going to make me shoot the laptop is what it's going to do.
There you go. This is the third or fourth week in a row you've talked about needing to get a new laptop. That's hilarious. That is a Hummer.
That's a Hummer that they just put a bigger cab on the back.
And converted into a fire truck.
And converted it into a fire truck because they could not get the full-size fire trucks into the parking structures at Chicago O'Hare. So
yeah, so this is the same idea, right?
Yep.
Like, yes, they could have reprinted, or they could have just bought the domain.
Yep.
And they did. Excuse me.
Well, speaking of building things, Turkey is building. Is that what we have to call it now?
I mean, well, you don't have to call it anything.
No, is that what they want us to call it now?
I believe they want to be called Turkey. Probably, but they added an I and swapped the Y and the E. Turkiye. Turkey.
Yeah, and the U has got some umlauts on top of it.
Yes. So Turkey.
Okay, well, Turkey is building a rocket launch facility in Somalia.
Why? Well, again, like we know why, because the closer to the equator is better.
Yeah.
But like, does Turkey have land in Somalia?
No, it looks like
Are they borrowing land for? That's a long way away.
They are also claiming this is for the project is currently classified under defense of Turkey. So a lot of the details are classified and there are no official disclosures or anything about this. But yeah, no, Turkey is going to be building a space rocket launch facility in Somalia.
I wonder if Somalia is just going to get like a lot of like they could sell the space to different countries for launching rockets.
I don't know, but it makes sense though, because it's on the equator. On the eastern side of Africa, which means there's nothing east of it other than the Indian Ocean.
Well, Indonesia.
Well,
like when you say nothing east of it, for a short distance, yes. Then you hit India and Indonesia. There's a lot of people who live in that area.
Well, okay, so wait, how far away from Somalia is India? Well, if you're on the equator, you're down by Kenya, and we had talked about who's building one in Kenya. Was it?
Was that France?
No, Italy. Italy was the one. Yeah, Italy was the one building down in Kenya, right? Because they had that weird like offshore oil platform that they converted way back when.
Yeah.
So if you're down on the equator, because Somalia is on the equator, like if you're on the southern part of Somalia and you're going across the equator, you have to go pretty far to hit.
Before you get to land.
Yeah. So it's still surprising though. Turkey's building a launch facility. Okay, I can see that. In Somalia. What?
Well, I mean, France has one in French Guinea.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? Like
yes. The launch facility in French Guiana is the launch facility for the European Union.
Right. So
everybody in the EU ships their rockets to South America
to launch into space. It's actually really amusing if you look at the map, like our launch facilities are really fucking far away from the equator.
Yep.
But like where would it be better for us to have our launch facilities? American Samoa?
I think that's the closest to the equator, isn't it?
We have maybe. Where's Guam?
No, American Samoa is south of the equator.
Guam is north of the equator.
I'm literally. Oh, there is Guam. Okay. I'm just like, it's somewhere in the Pacific.
East of the Philippines.
Yeah, you could do Hawaii or Puerto Rico. U.S. Virgin Islands.
But like Hawaii isn't that much further south than Florida.
No.
Hawaii is at like the same latitude as Cuba.
Yeah, you're right.
So Puerto Rico would actually be pretty good because like, again, then you've got the ocean to the east.
Mm-hmm. Well, even better would be U.S. Virgin Islands because Puerto Rico has, you're over a couple more islands from the U.S. Virgin Islands.
Yeah. I mean, so is the U.S. Virgin Islands.
Yeah. But no, Puerto Rico would probably have a better infrastructure.
Right. But it would mean you'd need to ship all of your rockets to Puerto Rico.
Yep. Rather than, throw them on the highway and drive them down to Florida.
Yep.
God, man, you look at Russia. Russia, what's out of Kazakhstan? Or no, Uzbekistan, I think. Where's their launch facility in Russia? It's not in Russia. I remember that. Is it in Kazakhstan? Yep, Kazakhstan. That is pretty far north compared to what we've all been talking about.
Russia's?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And is also not near the coast.
No, not at all.
All of Mongolia. Although, granted, the area to the east of there may as well be an ocean for, like, how many people live there.
Yes. There is
Go look at the population density of that desert. It's the Gobi Desert?
Yep. I learned that one from GeoGuessr.
Density of Gobi Desert. 3 people per square mile. Least populated region in the world. Land, I presume.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a region like you just do not want to be in.
No.
I learned about it from Temeraire.
Really? Oh,
yeah. They have to cross it at one point.
Yeah, that's Jade. That's the Jade book, I think. Because it's Europe, and then they go down to Africa, and then they go over to Asia, and then do they go to South America first and then get banished to Australia, or is it the other way around? It's been a while since I read the books. And then they come back for the actual Battle of Waterloo, or God, I can't remember all the individual little stories. It's an interesting. It starts out with an interesting premise, but then ends with me and my dragon see the world.
Look, the original idea was pretty good, and
yes.
Like how it worked into dragons are just a thing. And also the Napoleonic Wars with dragons.
Yes.
But like there were definitely some And now they're going where?
Yeah. We went down to Africa. Like it was like, okay, let's look at different cultures during the Napoleonic era.
With dragons.
With dragons. It's like, I don't want to, I'm not going to write too much about the battles here. So let's go over to Africa and let's see how Asia's doing. Oh yeah, let's talk about, the South American empires as well, which I love that, where the dragons got pissed because, diseases were still a thing, but the dragons couldn't get the diseases. So once, it was hard to get people over there, but once the people finally got over there, the diseases killed all these South American people like it did. And the dragons were kind of pissed. They're like, where'd all our people go?
I don't remember that part.
Yeah, the dragons were trying to basically bribe the crew to stay.
Oh, to stay, to be people.
Because the dragon wants, people under them.
Yeah.
Like, can we'll pay you to stay, because we need people here in South America. Do you want to stay, please? I think some people actually got kidnapped. I don't remember that part.
It's been so long since I've read those books, Andy.
Yeah, you and me both, but I can literally turn my corner and yep, there they all are.
They're just sitting there on the bookshelf?
Sitting there on the bookshelf right next to me. Well, not next to me, but within eye shot. Yep, all of them right there. Right. It's a random. I think it's time for randoms, unless there's something
We've successfully avoided all those topics I didn't want to talk about?
Yes, we have.
Okay. I can summarize them real quick.
Okay.
Trump gonna Trump.
Yep. And Trump cronies are also going to Trump.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Right. So, random review. It is my review. I want to review a mobile game that I was playing for a bit. Once again, I was still trying to find the mobile game that could scratch my Tycoon itch.
Mm-hmm.
And so I stumbled upon this one because what actually got my attention, first off, speaking of Galaxy Quest and that sort of thing there, this is Transportation Tycoon. So there's all these different vehicles.
Wait, Transportation Tycoon?
Well, it's not the actual Transportation Tycoon, I don't think, if I'm thinking of a different one.
You have gotten my hopes up, sir.
This one
and dashed them.
Yes, this one is much of this is a very idle tycoon sort of game. But it got my attention because there are all these, there are planes, there are trains, there are automobiles, and there was a event going on at the time where you could have, if you had completed the event, you could have gotten the Enterprise.
In Transportation Tycoon?
Yes.
Well, sort of transportation. In the fake Transportation Tycoon.
Yes, in the fake Transportation Tycoon, one of your airplanes or one of your helicopters or flying vehicles could have been the
USS Enterprise.
Yes, the USS Enterprise.
The spaceship.
Yes.
Not the aircraft carrier.
No.
Enterprise C?
No, the original one.
That's C.
Oh, that's yes. Yes, they had Enterprise C in there. You're right, because D is the new one. So yeah, no, they had they have some.
The D is the new one. Andy.
So they actually have like famous vehicles. Like they have the Big Boy, which is a famous steamship, or not a steamship, a steam locomotive. It's actually the biggest steam locomotive. So they have vehicles that are fancy, but after playing it, it's like, okay, hey, this guy needs let's see, like one of the missions I have here, this guy needs 50 barrels of oil, and he can only be delivered by either truck or flying vehicle. And they have to be, there's different rarity levels, and it has to be a green level vehicle, where it's like, okay, well, now this is kind of getting ridiculous because you have to have, a type of that vehicle. And of course, it's a gotcha game. So it's like, okay, I got to open up this vehicle box and I don't know what vehicle I'm going to get.
And if it's not the right one, you can't do it.
Yeah, if it's not the right vehicle, I can't do the mission until I either get that, or there are some non-story missions that I can just, say, hey, I don't want to do this mission, and then send it away. But, I can only do that so many hours before I have to watch an ad. And there's other things where it seemed promising, like you said, it seemed promising at the very beginning, and then my hopes were dashed.
Because
there's so many ads and so many things.
Because it is what it is.
Yes.
That's why your hopes were dashed.
Because
so you got my hopes up and dashed them.
Yes.
Just as revenge for your hopes getting dashed?
Not, I hope not. I don't want to give you revenge, but it was interesting, but then it just, it got very sad very quickly.
It's a cash grab off of a recognizable name.
Yes. They're like, hey, get this vehicle.
From people like you and me who really want that game back.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see if there's, it's interesting. And then, of course, there's like you can also build a city, where it's like, well, the city doesn't really actually do anything. The city just gives you money and gives you mail.
Yeah. So
the city layout doesn't really matter all that much. And there's a thing there where you can clean up these trash cans. So it's like, if you watch an ad, you can clean up these other trash cans as well. It's like, I don't want to watch an ad. And then you have to build factories to build specific parts. Or it's like, if I want screws, I have to, get the iron, smelt the iron into iron ingots, and then take it to a factory in order to get screws. And of course, everything takes X amount of time. So it was hopeful. And then it wasn't.
Yep. Well, how about this for hopeful, Andy? The random topic.
Random topic. Rolled ahead of time. What personal accomplishment are you most proud of?
Huh.
I know. I rolled this, and after I'm rolling it, I'm sitting there, and I put it on here, and I'm like, what am I most proud of?
I can't give too many details because I don't have this person's permission to do so. But I have had someone say that I effectively saved their life.
Well, that's a good one.
So I'm probably going to go with that.
Oh. I do have to say, it was...
Andy,
yeah?
You just want to throw this out there. You are a parent.
I know. I was going to go with this. I was going to go with the fact that, so Isaac, the daycare had a graduation ceremony, which turns out Megan's actually going to be graduating in a couple months, which...
Oh, God. Thanks. I really needed that.
Wow.
Yep.
Yep, no, starting August. No, not even her, we have to register her for kindergarten this month.
Yep.
Yeah, she's registering for kindergarten this month. Both of them are going to be going to the same school starting in August. Well, August or September. I don't remember if it starts before Labor Day this year or not. I think it does. But anyway, so graduation ceremony a couple of years ago at the daycare, and then kids drew a picture of what do I want to be when I grow up. And of course, Isaac wrote on that picture, I want to be dad.
Aww.
And I'm just like, oh, son of a...
Aww.
I'm sitting there going, I'm going to be cool. I'm going to be collected. I see that on the freaking wall, and I'm just like...
And just start bawling.
Oh, man.
Oh my God, that's so fucking cute.
I know. God, he is... Oh.
That's so goddamn adorable.
And then, of course, during the thing there, the kids are all supposed to stand up and say what they, wrote on the cards. And of course, his friend sat next to him in there. His friend stands up first, says that he wants to be a football player. And then Isaac stands up and just freezes. And the teacher, asks him the second time, what do you want to be? And he also said, a football player. And I'm just like, okay, whatever.
He's like, I want to be a football player.
And she's like, oh, on what team? And I think his response was whatever his team is, because he doesn't know football all the time.
No, of course he doesn't.
His friend said he wants to be on a football team, so I want to be in a football team too.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cute, Andy. That's so cute.
So, yes. What the hell just happened? My monitor just turned off.
Uh-oh. I'm still here.
Now, I know you're still here. I can still hear you, but why did my monitor just turn off? This would be helpful if I could somehow... Come on. Well, I'm just going to call it here. So,
okay.
That's a wrap while I figure out how to actually stop the recording. This has been another episode of the Random Access Podcast. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, corrections, suggestions, remarks, reviews, rebukes, retorts, or just rants, feel free to contact us. You can find us on Twitter at RAPodcast, or send us an email at mail at ripodcast.net. Thank you for listening.